Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to the Fearless Ones podcast, where we are aiming on a mission, I should say, to unite fearless people, stand against evil, and lead a fearless generation. Matt Ham and Kevin Adams with you as always. Kevo, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, happy Friday. It's Good
Yeah,
Friday.
man.
The sun's out. It's nice to see, man. It's been polleny and so it's been yellow, but not the sun. Yellow. Oh
They call
man.
it they call it the pollinating around here. It's like it
Uh,
is an official season of its own of a couple of weeks when it dumps on us. But new life
yeah,
around the corner, man, and
yeah. Right.
uh, it's
Well, I'm
good.
thankful for it, but yeah, glad it's done its job. And the rain came yesterday, and but anyway, yeah. So we're just we're kind of moving forward with our thoughts and themes and ideas and the things we teach and our organization, and really starting to streamline things. And so today we're talking about kind of a new theme or new teaching series, if you will. And I think we're going to call that "How to Live a Fearless Life."
Mm.
And you said just before we started talking, you'd said, what we need to do, and I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but you go ahead and say it,
Yeah.
because
Well,
it's important.
I think so. So one of the things we had our Fearless Spring Social last night, which was kind of getting our community together here locally in Wilmington. We had a great turnout, 25, 30 folks, and a lot of them were talking about this new podcast, about the transition, into Fearless, how much they were enjoying the new format. And we just got a lot of folks that are tuning in. I was up in Raleigh at our Faith and Business meeting yesterday, and a couple people said, "Man, I love what you and Kevin are doing on the podcast. We just love that you guys are speaking up. We love that you're being bold, that you're being fearless." And so my thought is part of this kind of mission is to help people stand up in their own right and lead that way,
Right,
right? And so
right,
sometimes people need context. And so, the last 4 or 5 shows have been about the transition of, are we here for comfort or are we here for impact? And of course,
right,
we've made the statement we're here for impact, to bring what we have in the moment, and fearless is that for us. And
right,
so we're taking a stand in the fearless brand and saying we're moving forward. And so now we're going to be teaching people how to live a fearless life, and really kind of getting clear about this fearless brand, what we're bringing to the table, how it integrates business, cottage industries, discipleship, and really like a vibrant community of people, to reclaim what is ours, which is God's kingdom here, man. So anyway, that was just
yeah,
kind of my version of saying what you said.
yeah. Well, I think the thing you said that I was referring to was, and that's fine. All that's good stuff. People need to learn how to live it and not just say it.
Yes.
And that's important. And so, but to do that, the best way to teach people is to demonstrate. People don't do so well with just words, and
Mm,
I'm a man of many, many, many words, but more actions. And I think that's Jesus. Jesus. I don't like when people say, "Well, Jesus healed people and all that." Yeah, but he spent a whole lot of time talking too,
mm,
and he had a lot to say. Now we don't know all what he said. We have a little glimpse of it, but
mm.
it's both. So we need to live it. We need to demonstrate it. We need to
Yeah.
show people, and that's what we're doing. And that's what's going on. So here's the idea, right? Here, let's go with this. The title is "A Lion Never Retreats,"
Yeah.
and that's the truth. Holly and I
Mm,
watched a little. It's a little kind of a cheesy little movie last night, but it's so cool. Lion. That's my favorite. I love lions, and I know a lot of people do. But there was a lion and a wolf. It's called Lion and the Wolf. It's real rated G. It's good, but this girl raised a lion and a wolf together, and they were friends, and it was so cool. We're just enjoying it, watching the camaraderie. Like it's a true story.
yeah.
So, there's just something amazing about lions, but but my favorite thing, and I think where we are in our culture and as Christians,
Yes.
we need to roar and move forward. We need to never retreat, and that's not in Jesus. He did not retreat. So a lion never retreats. Is I want to read this too, and grab hold of this. If you haven't, just grab hold of this and carry it around with you for the day. Proverbs 30:30 says, "A lion, a warrior among beasts, which doesn't back down from anything." And you pick your version of it. They're all good. I think that's the CEB version, but they just don't back down. Why? Because they don't need to. And what we talk about is, the fearless one is Jesus, but we become fearless ones. That's why we got our podcast called this. And we become fearless ones when we become like him. We follow him.
Amen.
So he didn't have any fear. So to be like him, you don't need any either. So think of it that way. A lion never retreats, the Lion of Judah, etc. So there's where the title comes from. We won't spend all that time explaining it in the future, but there you go.
Well, I think it's so essential for folks to really pause and let this thought into their heart that Jesus never retreated. And therefore, as the Lion of Judah, a lion never retreats. And I love that passage from Proverbs that you read. The lion is a warrior among beasts. He doesn't back down from anything. Man, I love that. So really what you have here is this is biblical truth. This isn't a cool thing. A lion never retreats. This is actually biblical teaching in a fresh context to tell people, if you are a Christian, you better get busy learning how not to retreat. And so much of modern Christianity has been painted into a corner of being meek, mild-mannered. Kevin, you said this years ago, that Jesus was not a doormat. He was a welcome sign.
Right. That's right.
And it's just interesting to me that that thought makes entirely new sense when you think about a lion, right? Not retreating. Yeah. And so but this is where we are right now. And so I love that you said that it's time for the Christian people to stand up and roar, and I think we have the opportunity to teach people and will be teaching people how to do this well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have to go first. And I've, been at this a while and went through, Holly pointed out the other day, it didn't really hit me, but she said, we've been since just, it didn't start then, but we had this major colossal failure like a lot of people, but ours was really, really on a different level in 08, but 08 to 15 was 7 years. And God put all my learning and everything to the test for 7 straight years. We had to go through that. 7-year ended, Jubilee started that next year, and that was the beginning of the next 7 years. And so we got freed first, then we started freeing people here for whatever reason God wanted us here. And and that's when you and I met and stuff. And we've been working, all of us have been working to free people right here in this community outward. So this is our area, this is our geography. And others too, like this is family, but that's where we've been freeing people. Freeing them means discipling, helping them truly begin to understand who they are. And that's a different thing. That is not happening in these Sunday meetings. It's happening out in the world. So 7 years of growing people. Now we're moving into the next 7-year season. And we're getting ready for a massive change. And a lot of people can see it now, finally.
Yeah.
So what does all that mean? It means we have got to be like Jesus in this way. It's time to press forward, to have forward view and move and not hold on and be tethered to the past. God's ready for us to take over. So anyway.
Well, man, as you're saying this, I feel the phrase. And before I say that, I just want to welcome everybody who's viewing. We've got a lot of folks watching online today. I just encourage you guys, let us know where you're watching from. Add your comments. That's always helpful to engage. And thank you guys for making time in doing that. Of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast as well, send us an email, info@uprint.life. A lot of people are starting to reach out. Hey, how can I get involved? Hey, how can we help? Hey, how can we do this? And we just want to say, hey, arms are open. And we've got a lot of work to do. And so you guys come and jump on in. But the word that I hear, Kevin, as you're talking about this is mobilization. Like there was a moment in Jesus's ministry where he became mobilized in a very active way, right? So when he was baptized by John the Baptist, there was a season of mobilization in his ministry. Not that he wasn't active prior to that, but I see that 3-year window of him getting mobilized and mobilizing the troops. I just keep hearing that as you're talking about
Sure.
this.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good. It's a good word. We listen. Let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about Jesus for a second. Uh, here's what he's not, right? And this is a quote. This is not my word. It comes from a really good song, but it's part of a chorus. It says, he's not a broken man on a cross. So let's take that for a second, and I'll tell you about the song. But our God is not, I'm saying this, our God is not, and I'm never like this about the way we view him. He is not a broken man on a cross. He's not. He's a roaring lion. He is the Lion of Judah. And when we know that, that's what we will follow. But the idea, he's sad and broken and that we've got to beg him and he's the great I can instead of the great I am willing. I mean, it's just, there's so many things that got us sloughing off of this modern day version of weak, dumb, fat, sick Christianity. And it's over. And if you don't move forward, then you're going to miss out. It's not condemnation. It's freedom time. But you got to step into it. In other words, God is forcing us to take responsibility for our lives. And it starts with faith, not with earning power and all this other crap. Let that sink in. So that right there means we've got to start at the beginning. The beginning is God, right? In the beginning, right? We know this. We know this and we claim it, but we don't live it. But we are being forced to do this now gently by our God. So come on, let's go. That all that idea is going back to the beginning, take forward posture. So let's talk about the obstacles and the things that keep us from doing that. And that's kind of, where we can start this theme of how to live a fearless life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. So if you think about the, that posture of a lion, I guess, it's not going to retreat. It's always got forward motion. Let's put this in terms of not Christianese. I can't stand that stuff. But we know one of the things we teach about is the idea that God works through you from heaven into the earth, and you're a vessel, and that's the posture you have to have. Well, part of that scenario means you have a gift or a set of gifts, right? We all know that, and that's not a new thing. But really, what does that mean? So I just want to take that idea, and again, we're going to put it in the obstacle lane for a second. What does it mean? So a lot of people, what they do is they think about a gift as something that they get to store up. But a gift is meant to be given. So when you have a gift, it's meant to be given. So you don't have to carry around this thing with you to go help people. You can drop the gift off on their doorstep and get on with what's next. But if you think of a gift as something you're just holding on to and storing up, and it's just for you, then there's no point in having a gift. In other words, a gift is meant to be given. So think about that. Again, we're getting in this forward motion mindset and letting go of trying to store up and hold on and all that.
Yeah.
We're also moving away from a mentality of, oh, I don't want to lose. I don't want to hold on. Holding on tight, white knuckling something, you will lose it.
Mm,
It's a mentality of loss. We want
mm,
to move toward a mentality of letting go, and so you're holding on is the problem. You've
mm,
got to let go. So it's not about losing; it's about letting go. All right.
mm.
So that's just a couple different viewpoints. It's like stop looking backwards and start looking forward.
Yeah.
Uh,
As you're sharing this, Kevin, I'm thinking about Isaac, on the altar, right? Abraham and Isaac. And it's this really a point. I've never thought about that story in context this way. Isaac was the promise of God. He was the gift to Abraham,
right,
and God
right.
called Abraham to lay that gift on the altar before
That's
him.
right.
And so he
That's
had to
right.
let go of it. And so we, as a modern version of Abraham, whatever gift God has put in us, we are required by biblical precedent to lay that gift on the altar before the Father. And when you were
Yeah.
talking about storing it up, gifts are meant to be given. That imagery started to pop off and like these dots connected.
Mhm.
I had never seen that
Yeah.
story that way.
Yeah. No, that's right. And it's always good to we stand on the word. The written word is meant to be stood on. It's like bedrock. We move forward along that road by the Spirit, and He illuminates and speaks to us about us and gives us individual thought on top of that. But they always work together. So that's a great point. So again, it's just about when you look back, your focus is not forward. That's a retreat type focus. So
Mm,
what are things that cause us to look back? Well, it's wanting to store up and hold on, and you can buy a bunch of real estate 2 years ago and rent it all out and become an icon, a real estate hero. But you better be careful if that's your focus, because it doesn't hold water in the days to come. So where are you going to put? It's okay to do that. I'm not saying don't do that. We're all for it, but just do not put your hope in that, because
mm,
stuff goes up and down. All right, so we want to get to the thing that no one can take away from you. The gift and the calling is irrevocable. Read that in
mm,
Romans, I think it's 11:29. So you want to invest your life in things that cannot be taken away from you.
mm.
And look, I did it the other way for years and years and years, and built companies and invested in real estate and all these other things. And I'll tell you, you put all that time and energy into that,
Mm.
it's not bad. It's okay. It's good stewardship. But if that's what your life is about, then you're storing up your gifts. You're storing everything up instead of giving away who you are to others.
Mm.
Uh, and so that becomes a tether. It holds you down. You cannot be free. Again, I'm not saying don't invest. I'm saying do not put that on the throne of your heart,
Yeah.
because you will lose it
I,
quickly.
I think that this is such a great opportunity in a moment to clarify the difference between taking an action and that action sitting on the throne of your heart, right? Because a lot
Right.
of people, in order to delineate this, they would say, "Oh, well, you can't," and that's a defensive posture. We're
Yep.
not saying, like you said, we're not saying don't invest. We're saying make sure that these investments are not on the throne of your heart. Make sure they're not your hope. And one
Right.
way to kind of look at this, you've said this, Kevin, only when we fully trust God is He willing to fully trust us with His plans for our life. That's my version. It's not the
Yeah.
actual words,
Yeah. Well,
but
right. That's all right. Yeah.
it's the idea when we give Him our full trust, we become trustworthy, and then He pours out through us.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
along those lines, what I just thought about when you were saying this, when God becomes our greatest investment, then we
Hmm.
become His greatest investment. It's this idea of reciprocity. When we fully yield, fully surrender, when we fully invest
Hmm.
everything we have into Him, He turns around and
Right.
pours that through us into the world.
Right. Right. Well, He gives us breath in our lungs, and that's His first investment, right? Aside from saving us, we don't even think about that, but we worry about food in our belly, and that, I mean, it's ridiculous it's a double-minded mentality to think he won't feed you, but he'll put air in your lungs. The same thing. So yeah, I mean, be good stewards. Business is great. Be smart about it and all that. But what we've done is we've supplanted God for these things, and we're seeing the world system around us. I don't care. You pick your institution.
Yes.
I believe medicine is good, but I believe a whole lot of it is bad and corrupt, and we're seeing that. Pick whatever you want: education, sports, government, the whole thing. People waving their Ukraine flags. I mean, it's crap. It's all crap. It's not good. What is good is God, and what he's doing is he's cleaning house. So I challenge anybody, call me, reach out to me if you got a problem with what I'm saying. But we're here for the new season we're in. God put you here for now. So you've got to start focusing on what that is, and don't get bogged down with all this stuff. God's doing what he set out to do. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. If your house has termites in it, you don't want to sit there and let them eat it up. But once they have, you got to knock that thing down and start fresh. What is good is the beachfront property, or whatever you want to call it, that we're on. That's good. So
you still have the land.
This is where we're headed. But so think about your gift. Think about setting it on someone's doorstep, and have that kind of mentality instead of I got to hold on, I got to store up. Man, that is not Jesus. Just not. And it's we're getting to a place where your wealth is going to have to be your faith and your wisdom, not some dollar bill somewhere.
I just had a thought about, Kevin, along these lines, because I look at a lion and a bear, right? God didn't call himself a bear, right? But what do bears do?
Right.
Bears go into hibernation. They store up a bunch of food and they go into hibernation. Lions don't hibernate. You know what I mean? Like there's this ongoing process with lions. They don't retreat. Whereas bears do have this preservation thing where it was just an interesting thought that I had that was like, wow, that's amazing to me that lions are always on the move. They're not into hibernation and, all that kind of stuff. Whereas bears are, I don't know, maybe it doesn't make any sense, but I just saw the difference between a lion and a bear in that way.
Well, sure. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. I think that, just the idea that there's forward motion. Lions don't eat every day, but they're also very tender toward their loved ones, and they can be tender towards people. It's funny, but not to get off too much into the metaphor of it all. The point is we're people. We're God's greatest creation, not a lion, but we have the spirit, the idea, the heart, and that's why Jesus is compared to that. The Lion of Judah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah is how it's described. But we've got to get away from the idea that he's a broken man on a cross, or a baby in a manger. And no, man, he is our king, and he's leading, and he's got that heart of a lion. There is no retreat. So what does that mean for you and me? It means whatever you hold on to, you better let go of it, and you better start pouring it into where he wants to take you, because that's why he gave it to you.
Yes.
It's not so you can hunker down. It's for what's coming. So if you get on with that and let go, what he'll do is he'll pour more, because you become, like you said, and like I've said before, you become trustworthy to him. And that's the goal. If you're trying to be him instead of letting him work through you, then you'll never really know him, and you'll miss it. And that's what's happening. That's where we are. So we got to stand up, right?
Ooh, dude, I'm going to say that again. If you're trying to be him instead of letting him work through you, you will never know him.
Yeah, that's true. I believe that you'll never really get to know him. You may know a little bit about him, but you won't know his ways. You want to experience the ways of God instead of just knowing about God. Most people know about him. Most people believe in him. Within the context of Christianity, but they don't actually believe him. You see, there's so many subtle differences here.
Yeah. So, well, the subtleties are the things that are being chopped off in this season, and that's what we've talked about this morning. Just a little bit of another analogy that was fresh on my heart this morning. A couple of years ago, the Lord really put it on my heart to begin doing my yard work, which is something I don't like to do. But He told me it was a stewardship issue that I needed to, because I'd always paid somebody to do it. So I got my butt out in the yard, but I had to learn about the yard because I didn't know anything about it. And my grass needs to be thatched, which is something you do in the spring. And it's the removal of the dead underbrush so that the new grass can take root. And this morning, and you cannot thatch the yard in a day. Like, it is a painstaking, thing. But I was out there thatching the grass this morning, and so much dead grass was coming up. And, the Lord was just saying, this is the process in your life that has to happen. I've got to remove the dead things. I've got to pull up the thatch. And that's what we always talk about, the process of discipleship, the process of discipline, of going through difficult times. It's God thatching us so new growth can take place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good image. And, I'm familiar with that. That's good. God's cleaning the thatch out, so to speak. And,
Yes.
but being out in your yard and being active and all that is, all that's good too. I wanted to read this Friday's text, which went out this morning, but it's kind of speaks to all this. It's a question. The headline says, "Are you truly walking by faith?" Question mark. And here's a way to define that, I'm real big, and a lot of the things God shows me is kind of this side or that side. There's a dividing line, and we call it faith. But which holds a greater influence in your life? A lot of people just glaze over this stuff, but because it's got some depth to it. But we're in the season of deep calling to deep. All right, so which holds a greater influence in your life? The obvious demand of your circumstance, because that's obvious, right? You see your circumstances. There is a demand on that. My rent just went up a good bit. Okay, taxes, everything, right? Gas. So I'm not complaining. I'm just thankful to be where I am, but still, there's a circumstance. There's a demand on that. I have to pay more to do the same things. So which holds the greater influence? That's the question. Now, the other side of that is, or the inconspicuous demand of your faith. So the demand of your faith is inconspicuous. But which holds the greater influence? The demand of your circumstances, which is obvious, or the inconspicuous, the hidden demand of your faith? And that's a lot. I know it sounds like a kind of a college-y type statement, but think about it. Really think about it throughout the day. Which holds the greater demand? Which are you out putting out fires all the time for circumstances? Are you trying to light a fire, from your faith? It goes back to, are you transforming lives? Are you conforming to the world?
Yeah.
Same idea. So
Yeah.
But think about the weight of those two things.
One of the great things about questions is for those who are willing to slow down and sit down with them, is they force you to an answer. They force you to a conclusion. And when you have binary choices, right, A or B, a lot of life now, the world's trying to go anti-binary. Well, it's not necessarily A or B. It's, C, D, E, F, G, H, whatever. But, it's interesting. Jesus basically, there's no binary. That's why, think about this with Jesus, right? There is no binary in Jesus. And it's only binary with Jesus in the sense He said there's no room for lukewarm. It's hot or it's cold, right? It doesn't mean there's not space in the middle for grace. It just means that we cannot sit on the fence. We cannot rest in lukewarm faith. You are either in or out, hot, cold, sheep, goat. There's no sheep goat hybrid in the kingdom of God.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be a very pretty thing, but
Yeah. So I wasn't trying to get preachy.
That's all right. It's good. So here's another one. When we get tossed about, well, think about Paul's circumstances. Paul did a whole lot from a prison cell. I think the greatest things he ever said, obviously inspired by God's Spirit, but Paul still had to be the outlet. He still had to write, or have someone write it for him. But he he did a lot from prison. And so circumstances they cannot have as great a demand as our faith. So think about the demand on those two things. Those are the things, walk by faith, not by sight. That's what God's talking about. Stop walking, living by sight. And it doesn't mean just your eyes, because if you're blind, a blind guy or gal, it means your five senses. It means the physical, right? So otherwise, a blind guy would be home free, and he's not. He's still got to live by faith, not by sight. All right. So another one is in this double-minded thing. We want to be the same. Now, for you and me, we're men, but we can say human, we can say people, men, women, all of us, right? We're all His. We want to be the same at 3 a.m. as we are at 3 p.m. We want to be the same man, the same person in the middle of the night as we are in the middle of the day. We want to be the same before kings and wealthy people as we are before, poor people with nothing, the homeless or whatever. We need to be the same all the time. We need to be consistently the same people. So again, we're just talking about the different obstacles. So if your demands are on your circumstances, then your life becomes led by those. You're not going to be the same. When the demand is on your faith is more, then you're going to be consistent. You're going to be the same. But in all the things, people will begin to know who you are. And that's a big one for people. So think about that. A couple of different ideas there.
Yeah. I think so. So kind of going back and kind of qualifying or quantifying some of these things, this idea of today's title is "A Lion Never Retreats," right? And so the first dynamic that you shared was, recognizing that Jesus was not a broken man on a cross,
Right.
that he was a forward moving, active, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Therefore, we have to be the same, which means the gifts that He's placed in us have to be laid out before people, that we have to become a conduit for the gift. And some of the times when people refuse to use their gift or they hold back their gift, it's because they're kind of paralyzed by their circumstance, because the circumstance has a higher demand than their faith. And so this is where, kind of living fearlessly is starting to understand this dynamic, that your faith has the higher demand, which means you pour out your gifts, which means you are becoming lion-like.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's about, stop looking back and front. They're not equal. It's okay to look back and acknowledge a bruise, if you will, but you got to move forward. You got to keep moving forward. So we're talking about the obstacles, or, maybe a better way to put it is the things that tether us to our past. I have people say, I had somebody say to me not that long ago, well, doesn't God convict us of our sins? And yes, the word says that, but look at it this way. What does it really mean? We're not trying to change the words. We're trying to understand them. And we need to do it from a place of wisdom instead of trying to, Hebrew and Greek and all that. That's just academia. It still comes down to your opinion. When God convicts us of a sin, the way I look at it is, well, how does He condemn me for it and convict me of it? So what He does is He frees us from it. And then when we struggle with it, He says, hey, He reminds us, He convicts us of our future. And He says, you're better than that. So stop and move forward. That's a good Father. Now that it's convicting, because it lifts me up and reminds me that I don't need to do that. I don't need to participate in that. It doesn't mean I don't have a failure sometimes. It just means that He's not condemning me. He's saying, come on, we got stuff to do, and that's keeping you from it. So let's get on with it. You're better than that because you're mine. Now, which one is more encouraging and more spurring on? That, or you're going to hell if you keep it up? Which one,
Yeah. Well, that man, that in and of itself, like I would do a whole show on that because the modern version of God is a God of condemnation when his actual word says there is no condemnation
That's
for
right.
those who are in Christ Jesus. And
Right.
so man, how many Christians would completely come alive today if the condemnation and shame and guilt that has been perpetuated on them through a religious spirit and all of this manipulation over the years was broken
Yeah.
off, and they started to have conviction about who they've been made to be, and then stepping into that, man? That's, dude, that gets me
Yeah.
fired up. That's some good stuff right there, brother.
Well, anybody listening, this is what we teach. We teach it
Yes.
in depth, and please just share it out. If you think that's true and right, and that feels right to you, it just tell people,
Yes.
but I live a block from the ocean, and I'm not going to go in there and dig out my sins because he threw them in there. I might go and play and surf. My sins are in the bottom of that place, past, present, and future, forevermore. I don't have time to dwell on that stuff. If I fail, I fail. He's going to pick me up. My heart isn't to do that, but he reminds us of who we are. That's our
Mm,
God, and that's
so
that's our
good.
Father. All right, so we've got these different components we're talking about, moving forward, forward motion. Lions have forward motion. Now they rest and they do their thing, but they're always moving forward.
Mm,
They're you use the word mobilize. They are mobile. They move around, and that's exactly what we see Jesus doing. Why? Because he's given his gift. He's reaching people. He's meeting them where they are and all that stuff. But he's being a vessel, and he carried out his mission. He is the vessel, but we get to be a vessel under him. So all of this requires we have to start to think about this a different way. And if we do that, and then all the things that we love and want to do, including investing and having good business practices, all that stuff begins to dovetail into who you are.
mm,
And you better believe God's got a good business plan for you. So we're
mm.
all for it. I mean, we've got business, right? But uh, anyway, I just think that too much is about getting caught looking back. Somebody touches the bruise that isn't healed. You go,
Mm,
and you flinch and you turn around and you wallow in it. We got to stop that. There's no
yeah.
time for that. Here's why, right? Here's a statement. This is something, it's a simple idea, but I've been saying it for years. But every day, every moment, every hour, every day is more valuable than the last.
Mm.
But why? Why is that? Because
Fewer of them.
there's
Yeah.
fewer of them. So you don't have time. God doesn't want you to waste his time and your time on things like that. It's okay. Your repentance is fine. It's good. We need to do that. But once you've done that, you're a repentant heart already. You're
Mm,
his. He loves you. So stop dwelling on that and get on with what he called you to do. Now, we'll get into that in a few shows, but that comes back to passion and compassion and your why and all that stuff, and we'll get into that. What right now we're saying, lions do not retreat.
yes.
They do not. So you've got to start right there. And if you get you're spending half your time thinking about all this crap that isn't going to help you,
Yeah.
then you got to work on reducing your reaction time. If you get in an argument with your spouse and it turns into a week, you gotta call me.
Yeah.
It can take, you get it down to, Holly, no, we struggle sometimes. It's pretty rare anymore, but it lasts a minute and then we're on to the next thing because the time matters. God
Mm,
put us here right now, not 200 years ago, not 200 years from now, right now, according to Psalm 139, 13 through 16 alone tells us he made us by intention and put us here right now. I don't know why people don't get that in their heart. It's because they don't really believe the word. They believe
mm,
their handiwork and they believe what they can store up. They're walking by this. I'm telling you, man, it doesn't work. It's a short-term thing. right? So long-term significance, life, satisfaction, all the stuff that people crave, it comes from God through you outward.
Mm-hmm.
And but these are we're trying to help people just as a starting point. Stop looking backwards.
Yes.
And even if you struggle with that, then reduce the amount of time you do it. Wherever you can have a victory, get a damn victory, and then start ahead and roar a little bit, right?
Yes. Amen.
Uh,
There's a perfect opportunity right now for that Boston song from the 80s, Don't Look Back, right? And there's a
yeah,
Boston song, Don't
yeah,
look back.
yeah, right. And I think it's the album name too, but I think, but
Nice.
um, so I think I'm just checking my notes to make sure that there's a couple of things I wanted to make sure. Um, and again, God's forcing us to take responsibility for our lives. He's a good father, and
Yeah.
it's time for us to take up that responsibility. And
Mm.
if that means you need to start taking care of your health a little better, then you do, right?
Mm.
You're starting to feel kind of sick or whatever, then you've got to start to take care of your body. That's the way to honor God. So, I know you have worked on that a lot lately, and it
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
That's forward motion.
Yeah, it's this concept of co-laboring that that we're really touching on here. Is
Right,
it's always been the call of Christians to co-labor, right, with the Father
right,
toward His purpose, right? And
right.
we've gotten away with in the past of maybe not co-laboring, of kind of going on down the path, but right now we're in a moment where that co-laboring is required. That's the
Yeah,
responsibility that you're talking about, because there is no longer a retreat, because if you retreat, you die.
right. Yeah, you're here because He put you here. And let me just say this too. And I've said it a million times, but it's worth saying over and over again. You don't have a purpose. It's not your purpose.
Mm,
It's His purpose. And
yes.
He built you, put you here to carry it out. Really let that in. It's God's purpose. And He created you right now to fill that purpose, to carry it out, to accomplish it.
Yes.
Now, so if you know that, it's like the score of the game, you already know, then your posture automatically becomes more focused. So then, we have a worthy opponent, the enemy. He's crafty. Look, without God, we're toast. But with Him, we're in charge. We don't even have to fight with Him. We've just got to get on. It's like sleeping in the boat with Jesus instead of fighting the storm. Most people
Amen.
don't even understand that. They don't even think like that. That's where we got to go. All right. So if you're real busy focusing on that, you've got to move forward. Anyway, I wanted to mention that where I forgot.
Yeah.
But let's
Well,
see here.
any
Okay, go
any
ahead.
final?
What's your
We're
thought?
kind of we're kind of on
Yeah.
our time slot here, so just
All
kind of
right.
keeping us honest to that. So, any final kind of things you want to do to wrap up? And want to just mention a few things about Fearless as far as how folks can get involved. But in regards to this idea of a lion never retreats, just want to put a nice
Right.
bow on it.
Yeah. Well, you just think about it as start small, repeat daily. And you'll see success. Don't talk yourself out of it. What I was going to say a minute ago, and I blanked out, but that is the enemy is crafty, right? So he's going to try to get you. He can't unsave you. He can't unring a bell. He can't take you away from God, but he can distract you and keep you unproductive. And that can lead to all kinds of things. So remember, his job and what he's after is to keep you unproductive. So you give
Mm.
into that when you start turning around and focusing backwards. And it's. I told a guy one time. He said, "Well, she keeps pushing my buttons." I said, "There's no buttons on your back.
Mm.
There aren't any." So, but
Mm.
anyway, a couple other quick thoughts, and then let's talk about Fearless. Um, is God the topic of your household?
Mm.
That's another one I really wanted to get out there. It's we our kids watch. Now, my kids are grown. I got grandchildren, but I know and I remember this, and they're amazing people now because of this. But God was the topic of our household. He lives in our house with us. He's our best friend. He's part of our family. So I want people to think about this. Just be cognizant of it. Instead of him being over here, off in the wherever land, your kids will watch what you do and they'll see who you interact with. And when you're talking to God, and I'm not talking about Christianese, blessing everything and oil on the walls. I'm talking about living for him. It's not Christianese. It's not super spiritual. It's just being like Jesus in all aspects of your life. And he'll show you where to go. And that is supernatural. And it'll freak people out. But we're not doing hat tricks. We're not looking for miracles. We're going forward and being like Jesus. That's what's going on. But think of it, I'm giving you a couple of points. This is another one. Is God the topic of your household or not? And if he's not, that's looking backwards. And the last one, and we can wrap this up. The church is people. It's people. It's people. It's not an object. It's not an object. It's not a place. It's not a place. It's not an object. It's people. People. It's a family. We are the church. It's not a place. I know we call it that. That's not true. It's not a place. It's not an object. It's us. And we're here right now. We are the people in Scripture right now, appointed in this season by God's purpose through us. He made us, refined us, and put us here. And if we don't get on with that, we will miss out, right? So we care more about your spiritual health until you start to care about it. And that's my personal goal, is that you care more about it than I do. So you got work to do, buddy. That's set out of love. But get excited because you matter, but you do not matter to the enemy. And when you keep giving him homage like that, just by letting him take you away, then you're going to miss out on the amazing future and the lives that you can change by leaving your gift on their door. You don't have to carry them around with you. You need your own rest. So that's kind of it's a quick, convoluted message, but there's a lot in that. And then again, teaching people how to live a fearless life. That's what we do. And we're working on all kind of things, streamlining them. We got new products and stuff we're working on. But anyway, jump in there and let's share a little bit.
Well, I think just, for those who listen to our show weekly, who are sharing it in the communities, thank you. Like, this is impossible for us to carry out this mission without you. And, it matters tremendously. If you share this with a neighbor, if you invite them to an event, if you encourage somebody to get involved in the discipleship process, if you encourage somebody to pick up some coffee, if you get some shirts and give them away to people, if you pick up some hats, whatever, like, this is a forward-moving mission of people to reclaim a fearless persona, or a fearless embodiment of how the church, the family of God, lives this out. And that's why we're here. So I just want to say thank you to those of you who listen, who participate. If you want to learn how you can get more involved or help more, we need that. Kevin, we met this week. Now is the time. You said it this way. You said, our focus over the past few years has been about building our reputation. And we have done that well by being excellent in everything we do and by being consistent toward this vision. And now we are going to continue that reputation, but now we're standing up and looking around at the people and say, hey, let's go forward together. And so, we want people to dive in and we're going to be spelling out what that looks like by picking up some coffee, sharing it with folks or whatever. But get started just by going to fearlesstradingcompany.com. Check out the coffee program, check out some of the apparel and so forth. Get plugged into mentoring. You know what I mean? Let us come and pour into your business, to your, organization, whatever it is. I mean, we're here, but it's going to take you jumping in with us.
Yeah. Well, just to put a bow on all that, I guess. Look, this is not a simple thing we're trying to do, or we are doing. It takes time, it takes resources, but it's not just about, you get a shirt and you don't need another shirt. So, how many shirts can you buy? We're not a shirt company. That's just a
Hmm.
way to get the word out and the brand out. It's like a business card. And thanks for buying some shirts. But what we're doing is we're changing lives. So when you buy coffee, it helps. It's not just, in fact, it's not really going into our pocket at all. But it helps. And I want you to think about this. There's a lot of excuses. Well, I don't drink coffee. I don't like to grind it myself. Okay, fine. That's fine. We understand that. We're not trying to get you to do something you don't want. But if you're looking for a way to help, then get a coffee subscription. What is it, $40 a month? You get the content anyway. That's 10, and we're getting better with that. And once we have more resources, we're going to blow your mind with the stuff we have. We're trying to do a lot. But I'm saying, if you don't like it, then give it away to somebody. Use it
Yeah.
as a ministry tool. Buy a few bags of coffee every month and give some away. Is that difficult? I mean, come on, So
Yeah.
we're not here to hawk coffee to you. We don't care. What we do care about is changing lives. So we're trying to give people a way to do that. It's tangible. People don't understand the intangible. Discipleship, all that. Well, yeah, okay. Well, here's some great products. All right, so we're going to have a lot more. We just went through a whole cool seed to bottle hot sauce program we're going to start working on. And anyway, that's another thing, but we're going to create great stuff. We're building other industries. We're going to have channel partners. We're going to have a fearless trading co-op. It's going to be phenomenal. But get in now, because
Yeah.
all of this is not about trying to be like Jeff Bezos. In fact, I wanted to say this too, man. I'm sorry. I know this is taking long. His
Fire away.
ex-wife, if you haven't seen this already, his ex-wife just spent $275 million, donated it to Planned Parenthood to kill babies, because that's what they do. People are evil. Imagine that. I don't want to stand here and say, but look where this crap is going. These rich
Yeah.
idiots are pouring into satanic crap. All we're asking is to buy a couple bags of coffee every month so we can change lives. That's it. So if you don't drink it or you don't like it, then go give it away to somebody. That's it. It's pretty simple, right? And I buy it. I buy my own coffee.
Hmm.
So, and I don't have the money to buy a lot of it, but we're going first. So I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm saying this is where we are. Let's go. Something little, something big, jump in. We need
Yeah.
to grow this, not for ourselves, but so we can change lives, so we can help people get free and become who they are and build whatever business they want. And we can partner with them and help them do it.
Mm.
This is the most generous thing I've seen in a business / ministry format. It doesn't exist. Help us do it. I just, that was my
Hey.
pedestal, but
Go, man, go. It is not a season for storing up, build bigger barns, because
that's
the
right.
enemy is active and pouring into every sphere. I just got a message the other day about there's a very far left communist kind of minded organization pouring money into our local elections, here in New Hanover County.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
time to stand up, friends. And if you are afraid to stand up, you are going to get swallowed up by
Yeah.
a world that wants nothing more than just to make you its sacrifice. And but we are
Right.
living sacrifices for our King, and so better to get on with it and begin pouring everything we have into this forward movement thing. So good conviction, man, and good action, and a call to action, if you will. So all good. But friends, thank you so much for tuning in to the Fearless Ones podcast. As always, connect with us, fearlesstradingcompany.com. You can email us now, Matt or Kevin at fearlesstradingcompany.com. We got that set up and are getting that underway, so you guys can reach out to us. But Kev, any final thoughts, man?
I just know that this comes from love, and somebody in particular, myself, on the other side of 14 years of really being tested and growing people. Trust me, this is where it's at, and this is where it's going. And I tell you that just out of love. But help us do this, and you'll never find anybody who stands with you the way we will. So God bless you, and thank you for listening. That is helping too. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely,
Tell
friends.
somebody.
Yes, right. Tell somebody. Thanks a bunch, friends, and we'll see you guys next week.